Hello, Emily May here, and welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, we're going to have a pretty serious discussion, but hopefully it won't get too deep. And yeah, you can probably tell what it's going to be about based on the title of the video. Yeah, some of my friends are getting married, and I'm freaking out about it. And then I also thought, hey, why not, while I talk about my existential crises, let's do some skincare. So, first, I have a moisturizer, and then I also have this facial mask stuff that my sister and I made when we did our own spa night. Not exactly sure that it's the most effective thing. I think it's meant to be kind of an exfoliator. My sister said it worked a little bit. So, let's hope it does something today. Alright, so before I get into why this has been making me freak out, I guess I should give a little bit of a backstory to it. So, for context, I was first told this news over winter break. So, it's been a few months now and I'm still freaking out about it. So, I had this on my plate while I was still at school, on top of everything else making me freak out at school, aka graduating. So, they told us this over winter break, and it was when me and the home friend group that all four of us are a part of, so me, Talon, those two, and then two other guys, we all went bowling. And our first indicator was the female friend, for the sake of anonymity, for the sake of anonymity, I think that's the word, she'll be Amber. So, our first indicator of this was seeing seeing Amber's name up on the scoreboard. She was called, his name will be Todd. I believe she was called Todd's future wife or Todd's wife or something like that. And I was really confused. And I thought it was just a joke because they had been dating for a long time. And I'm sure people in their family were making jokes. Like, oh, when are you going to pop the question? It's been so long. But then after we were done bowling, Todd was like, yeah, we got some news for y'all. I proposed. And then me and Talon were, I'd say, not in complete shock because looking back on it, like, we should have known from the name and the fact that they had been together for so long, but it was still a shock. What made it also not surprising was the fact that me and Talon and our friends have known those two for a pretty long time. So I met Todd in intermediate school. We went to different elementary schools, but then we met in intermediate school. And then I didn't meet Amber until I think like my sophomore year of high school. She wasn't originally in the friend group, but then Todd asked if he could bring her along to one of our annual get-togethers. So that's how we met. But those two have been together for an even longer time. Like, I want to say, like, total, it's been for them 6-ish years. And then by the time they get married, which will be next summer, they will have been together for like 7-ish. And they met, I want to say, at a church thing. So they could have even, I don't know this for sure, but they could even be childhood friends. Like, that's how long they've known each other. And then that's how long they've been together. So, that's a little bit of the context. So let's get into why I'm freaking out. The first reason, I believe, why this is troubling me so much is the fact that they got engaged when they're so young. Because I am also very young, because we're all, like, I think by this point, because of when birthdays falls, I think by this point we are all the same age. I'm a mere 22, and I don't think there's a right age to get married, but at the same time, it scares me a little bit to think about getting married this young. Again, I have nothing against people who do it that young, but the fact that we're all so young kind of leads into my next point, which is the bigger of the two, and it kind of has to do with age. And it's the fact that because of my age and where I am personally at in life, I just don't see marriage as a feasible thing to do right now, just logistics wise. And like, I'm not physically or mentally prepared to make that kind of commitment. So, yeah, we're all 22. And to me, that means we're all still dumb teenagers. Like, we still have no freaking clue what we are doing with ourselves. Like, yeah, we have goals, aspirations, and we're achieving them. But do we really know what we're doing? No, not really. Ugh. But for them, it's definitely more feasible because of their career paths versus mine. So for me, and why it's not feasible, I want to be a counselor. So for me to become a counselor, I had to go to undergrad, and then I have to go to grad school, and then I have to take an exam, and then I can finally get a job because that's something I need a license for. Like, they don't just let anybody do it. I don't know if I'm supposed to be putting this on my eyelid, but I'm doing it anyway. And if something happens because of this, oh well. But anyway, so I am going to grad school in the fall and I'll be commuting. So I am staying at home. I'm commuting because I can't afford to move out. Because we all know how the cost of living is anymore. Stupid. Or I should say, stupidly high. And moving out kind of leads into what my expectations for making those adult commitments are. And that is, I would rather live with the person that I am getting engaged to before we actually make that commitment. Because I think it's important to know if you can live with that person before you want to spend the rest of your life with them. And like I just indicated, I can't do that even if I were to get engaged with someone because I can't afford the, living costs and all that. Now, I do actually have someone that I could move in with, and his name is Talent because we've just hit the 4-year mark, and I think I could live with him for the rest of my life. But his career path, unlike Todd's, doesn't exactly line up with being able to move out immediately either. So he tried to get a job upon graduation, but nothing really worked out. So he is now going to grad school, and then he'll be able to look for a job. So we're kind of both stuck with more schooling until we can find a job that pays enough so that way we can move out. And also, another thing that would hold me back is student loans, because capitalism. Uh, so I would be riddled with student loan debt because I haven't started making payments yet. He has, I have not. So that's just another thing on my plate that would prevent me from moving out right away. And we also talked about this. So let's say he is able to find a place because he literally, as in a couple nights ago, told me that it could have been cool if he got a job because he saw a posting or whatever out at Kutztown, and I'm going to Kutztown for grad school. And he talked about how nice it would have been if we were in a situation where he could move out, and then I can move out there, we can live together while I go to grad school and he gets a job. Obviously, that didn't work out, but could have been cool or a nice thing to happen if things had worked out. But let's say that was what was going to happen. I still wouldn't be able to contribute. Now, he said that wouldn't be an issue if he made enough. And bless his kind soul, but I would still be ridden with guilt because I would want to contribute to the place that we both call home. And if I can't, then I'm going to feel bad about it because it'll feel like I'm not doing enough for the relationship. It doesn't matter how many times he says it's fine, I don't think it's fine. So, like, could we do it? Maybe, but I don't see it happening in the near future. But those two and their career paths, it's not as long as a process. So, Amber is a nurse, and Todd is a teacher. So they were able to get jobs immediately upon graduating. Now, they haven't informed us about having their own place yet, but they have a year until they get married to find a place and to get settled into their jobs. So for them, it must not seem that daunting because everything's coming together. And what confused me a little bit, but again, to each their own, I'm not judging him. Well, that's a lie. I am judging him a little bit for this, but whatever. He ended up proposing before we even graduated. And I was like, my shit is not together enough during my senior year to want to think about something like that. But I guess because with their respected job fields, it seemed more feasible. But the bottom line is, it's not feasible for me. I'm gonna try to put this on my lips. It's strawberries, so it's not like it's gonna taste disgusting, but we're gonna see how talking goes with it on. So this third reason for why I'm freaking out is kind of more of a mental issue that's not unique to me, but it's my own mindset and how I view my own life. And that is, I have this pretty deep internal pressure to succeed. Like, I've always been like this. So, growing up, I had such high standards for myself, and if I didn't meet them, it would upset me so much, and I think I was a failure and not good enough. I had all these expectations for myself, and if I didn't meet them, I thought that meant I was bad or I was a loser. I wasn't doing life right. And I'll admit, I'm not as bad as I was as a child, but I'm still kind of bad when it comes to that. And I, with this, have a pretty bad tendency of comparing myself to others. So I look at all of my high achieving friends and think, why can't I be like that? And there are different things that can make one think that they're achieving in life. And in at least America, we have these milestones. And most of the time, they're academic or career related or relationship related. So if you do one or the other or both, then you've made it. Now, I know there is no right age to achieve any of these things. So the fact that I'm putting all this pressure on myself at only 22 sounds ridiculous, but in my head, it's not so much, as I just drip all over myself. So, just some examples for what I mean by friends getting these achievements. A lot of them already have big boy jobs. So, once they graduated with their bachelor's, they were able to get a job right away. And to be fair, they happen to choose fields where it's possible to get a job immediately. I so happen to choose a career that needs extra steps before someone would hire me. So a lot of them are teachers. Amber is a nurse, like I said. The fact that they're able to get these jobs right away makes me feel bad because I'm still in my part-time job that I've had since in between freshman and sophomore year of college. Now again, there's nothing wrong with working part-time, especially if you need the money to continue schooling like I do. But it just made me feel bad hearing about my friends who were able to get jobs like that, which means they're able to move into the next steps in their life, which means if they're seeing someone, it means achieving or relationship related goals. I don't have word on this. I don't know when it would happen, but I think it's safe to assume that Todd and Amber are going to move in together before they get married. Because, well, Talon and I joked about it, and it'd be kind of funny if they still lived at home while they were married. And it's like, oh, I'm off to my wife's house. Oh, I'm off to see my husband. Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad. To me, that just seems funny. But if it works out that way, then I'm not going to judge them for that either, because we all know how the housing crisis is. But it's not just them. I also have school friends that are moving in together, too. I have two that recently told me about it, as in like a month ago, and then I have a couple others who moved in together or made plans to towards the end of my senior year. The one wasn't graduating yet, and there was this whole situation where they were going to move into an apartment with their boyfriend once she starts school again. But so many of my friends are just moving in together, and it's something I want to do with Talon, but as I talked about before, I can't. And then the next step after moving in would be getting engaged. And I did ask Talon the question, aside from all the external circumstances that would prevent us from doing it, do you love me enough to propose? And he said yes. And that answer freaked me out just as much as the thought of my friends getting married. But upon further thinking on the matter, I do honestly want to spend the rest of my life with that man. So I think getting engaged is not an illogical step in our relationship, or it's not the next illogical step in our relationship, but I am certainly not in the place, physically or mentally, to do that. So the fact that my friends are getting engaged makes me feel bad that I am not able to reach that point yet. And also, not to mention, two of my friends who I said they're from school. Well, one's from Bloom, the other I forget where he went, but those two also got engaged, which also kind of hammered home the point of me making this video because I was already freaking out about Amber and Todd, but then she came up and was like, "Hey, we're engaged," and I was like, "Oh, that's funny. I just spent the night before crying about how much of a loser I felt like because my other friends were getting engaged, and then she just said they were getting engaged. Now, I'm not crying about it anymore. I don't feel as bad about it, but I just thought it was ironic. So I was like, oh, well, they're getting engaged. That gives me more of a reason to talk about it. All right, I'm going to wash this off because my face is super sticky and it's kind of uncomfortable, and I think it's been on long enough. So I'll be right back. There are still specks on my face, but I don't really care. So as I was saying, I have this internal pressure. But what I am thankful for is there isn't really external pressure from others to reach these milestones. And that I am extremely thankful for. Now, my friends are not very judgmental. So everybody, I feel like, just in my age bracket, knows how hard life is in this country of good old US of A. So they're not going to judge anyone if they are unable to do something because of the economy or just because of their living situation. So thank God for that. But I'm also thanking God for the fact that my family isn't pressuring me to do anything either. Now there are a couple family members that I am jealous of because they have made it. One more so than the other. So my one cousin on my dad's side, she, I feel, has completely made it. She has a husband, she has a home, she has a good paying job. She recently just had her first child. And then my one cousin on my mom's side, she has a loving wife and a home. Her job kind of sucks, but at least she has a place to live and someone that she met that she wants to spend the rest of her life with, like the other cousin. But they're not judging me for anything, and I also appreciate it. Hopefully this is enough. I'm really bad at guessing how much I need for anything. Don't mind me as I rub this in. So, the cousins themselves, their spouses, and then the cousins' parents aren't judgmental either. Like, they don't look at their kids and go to my parents, oh, why aren't your kids doing that? And then when it comes to my parents, they're not really pressuring me to do anything either. Like, they know what I want to do, and they know, although it takes my dad way too long to fully understand the process that it takes for me to become a counselor, but they understand at the minimum that I have to go to grad school, and then I can't get the job that I want until I get the service hours. I did talk about this in the quick facts, but they understand that I'm not quite at the point where I can get a full-time job. And at least for me, it shouldn't be hard because counselors are always in need. So when it comes to the job and moving out, they're not pressuring me because they know the process. And then with the relationship stuff, they're not doing that either because they also understand how hard it is to live in the era that we do. And so does my boyfriend's parents. which is very nice. Because they're not like, oh, when are you going to propose? When are you getting married? When are you moving out? They're also very kind and understanding people, which also helps. And then also, just a quick mention, at least the other members of my family, so extended family, aren't putting any pressure on me either. And that is mostly because we don't talk anymore, which is a long story that I'm not going to get into. But we don't talk, and most of them don't even know talent exists. So they can't pressure me to marry someone that they don't know I'm in a long-term relationship with, which is good and it's bad. So like it's bad that they don't know much about their family member, but it's also good because I'm not receiving, like I said, any of that pressure. I actually recently introduced Talon to the cousin on my mom's side, so the one with the wife, and that was just pure happenstance because he happened to come over when they were leaving my house. So they know he exists, but that wasn't until 4 years into this because I don't think they really knew. Like they may have known that I was dating someone at the minimum, but they wouldn't know. They wouldn't have known who and for how long. Because when my mom sent graduation pictures to her sister, so my aunt, she was like, "Oh, by the way, the dude in that picture, that's Emily's boyfriend." So, if that was my aunt's first time introduction to him, it came 4 years into this, which I find funny. So, in short, the moral of my story is my friends who are around my age are getting engaged and married, and I'm freaking out about it. And it's because I'm not in the place or mindset to be able to do that. And I keep comparing myself to them and thinking that I'm not achieving as many things as I could be, even though the process for achieving those things happens to be a bit longer and it's out of my control and not my fault. I never said my problems made sense. Now, I will say, I know I'm not in a bad place. I have the job. I have a loving boyfriend. I wouldn't wish for anyone else to be in my life. Talent is that amazing. And I have a successful future ahead of me. I will be able to get a job. So, my life is really not as bad as I think it is. I just have a little trouble telling myself that sometimes. And you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. So I guess for my final message for this video are words that Talon say to me anytime I feel like crap. So anytime it feels like I have nothing and or am nothing, he'll say this to me. So I will say it to you. So if you ever feel like you are worthless or useless, I want you to know you are not. You are good enough. You are capable of achieving great things. So, wherever you are in life, it's okay. And wherever you want to be, you got this.